Welcome back to Stegosaurus Bulletin, where I find and read to you the funniest and most insane Reddit and news stories that I can find. In this episode, we'll be looking at the subreddit Maliciouscompliance. Our next post is by Physical Syrup. Just say white instead of Australian. We all know what you mean. I work at a dental clinic run by the state in Australia, like NHS or Medicaid. Very few of our dentists are white-skinned. HR policy is that all staff are Australian citizens. Don't ask me about this, it's government thing. Don't know why. So we get a lot of racist clients stating, "Mate, I only want an Australian dentist next time." Or, "When are you going to hire an Australian dentist?" etc. I played dumb and explained that all our dentists are Australian. In fact, it's HR policy. Of course I know what they mean, but I'm just waiting for the day someone just outs with it and says white. Anyway, one of the dentists is Aboriginal and quite dark skinned. So here's the malicious compliance. Some of our staff apologize to the racist client and say no problem, I will make sure I book you with an Australian next time and book them with him. Our next Reddit post is by the user, yep, seen it. Our efforts to reduce noise aren't working? Fine, we won't make an effort anymore. I live in an apartment above another apartment. Since we first moved in, we got regular noise complaints from our neighbor below, saying that the noise of my son, 4, jumping off furniture is driving them crazy. He's not jumping off furniture, he's tripping and dropping toys because he's 4 and he's clumsy. But we apologized and encouraged him to be more careful. The complaints kept coming in regardless. So we bought thick foam mats to cover half of our floor to deaden the noise. They're ugly looking and I hate them, but we want to be good neighbors. The complaint stopped. We didn't hear anything for months, until this morning. This morning I was dressing my son for school. He had gotten new runners that light up, so obviously the first thing he did was stamp his feet to activate the lights. He happened to be standing on the half of the floor not covered in foam. I also happened to knock over my sweeping brush on the bare floor too as I rushed out the door. When we got downstairs, the neighbor leaned out of her window, yelling about how the noise woke her up and it's ridiculous that we're so loud, etc. I apologized and explained about the shoes, but she cut me off and said, "It didn't matter and we were being inconsiderate." I started to get annoyed and was explaining about the efforts we made to reduce noise, and she cut me off again and snapped, "Well, obviously it's not working." So I said, "Okay, if it's not working, then we can stop putting in the effort, thanks," and left. When I came back, I took up all the ugly foam mats and put them in the attic. Screw her, when she comes knocking to complain again, I'll tell her to invest in some earplugs. Our next story is by Aggravating Accident 2. Revenge is a dish best served small, adhesive, and impossible to remove. I just remembered something kind of funny from about 13 years ago. My sister was married to someone I shall call Major Pee-Pee Head. The guy was a mooch. He would brag about how much money he made, while hitting you up constantly for small loans. The one person I know who gave him a $25,000 loan never saw that cash again because they were, unfortunately, too nice to sue the family. Anyway, Major Pee-Pee Head got angry when I wouldn't loan him $40,000 and had been punishing me by not letting me see my nephew and niece. Major Pee-Pee wasn't my nephew's father, but he was my niece's father and both still lived in his house. When a truce was arranged by my apologizing as sincerely as John Cleese did in A Fish Called Wanda's Widow's scene, he allowed me to once again send gifts for birthdays and Christmas, but they needed to be arts and craft type stuff, no electronics. So for my then extremely active 4-year-old nephew's Christmas gift, I included a box of 1,000 stickers. I made sure they were all shapes and sizes, ugly as hell, and, most importantly, they had been downvoted because reviewers reported them as being almost impossible to remove. I hope that Major Pee-Pee still finds those things every so often to this day, and thinks of me when he does. Brilliant present OP, but might I suggest for next Christmas, maybe a whole tub of Lego. The next Reddit post is by the user Swollen Left Thumb. You expect us to be punctual? Okay, we got it. He was irritated to come out to the secretary's desk and find she wasn't yet seated. She was in the lounge putting away her coat and then fixed herself a cup of coffee. And she sat down at 8:36 instead of 8:30. It happened to be a morning of extreme stress, and he really needed all hands on deck that morning. Got it. But he was very short-sighted. The 6 minutes didn't change the course of the day, but his memo to staff certainly did. He circulated a memo to all staff which said something to the effect of, "The day begins at 8:30, not 8:36 or 8:40, or when you found a parking space, or when the coffee was ready. If you need more time, plan your day accordingly and make your cup of coffee and find your spot and hang up your coat earlier than normal. 8:30 means in your seat at your desk, ready for day's work to begin, not coming through the door." Okay, we got it. Well, I was a paralegal at the time, and I put in so many more hours than the 40 hours I was paid for. I arrived early, left late, frequently delayed lunch, often didn't take breaks on busy days preparing for trial. Every single employee was grumbling, not just the secretary. As it happens, I was the most affected, in a positive way actually, by this policy memo, because I was the staff member who had the most lost time from working beyond my schedule. I was never late, so he didn't have a problem with me, but he also abused my time more than anyone else's. There were months where I never took so much as a coffee break, often ate lunch at my desk while working, seldom left at closing time, often came in on Saturdays or Sundays to help and get ready for Mondays. I just always shrugged it away and took it as part of the industry. Our trial legislation practice is stressful and schedules need to be fluid. He didn't appreciate that, so we responded as a group of 16 employees with total solidarity. We were at our desks at 8:30 a.m. We left our desk promptly at 5:30. We took our breaks at our lunch hours exactly on time. It was a disaster. I was the first to respond. "Sorry, I can't help right now. My lunch is at 12 to 1, and I have to stand up at 12 and sit back down at 1. So this copy project would make my lunch 12ish to 1ish. I'll start on this exactly at 1:01 p.m. when I'm back at my desk." I also left at exactly 5:30 p.m. I stood up, put my cover on my typewriter, and cleared my desk. He said, "Can you just..." and some paperwork in his hands. "No, I'm sorry. My day begins promptly at 8:30 and ends exactly at 5:30. I'll help you with that tomorrow." I left. Everyone did the same. All week. "No, I'm sorry. I'm required to take a 10-minute break in this hour." "No, I'm sorry. My lunch begins in 15 minutes at 12 o'clock. And that's 30 minutes of dictation you want transcribed. I'll begin at exactly 1 o'clock when I'm in my seat and at my desk." He realized the petty nature of his memo to staff within 2 business days, and sent around an apology memo within a week of disastrous results. He then sent us all out on an extended lunch for 2 hours, on the house. He didn't come. His memo said, Go complain about your boss over 2-hour lunch. On me." I like how in the end he had a good heart in the end. Our next post is by the user BiochemNerd12. "You want to question the contribution to my own research? Okay, let's waste everybody's time. This is probably minor, but I got some satisfaction out of this. Scene. I have my PhD in biochemistry, newly graduated, and interviewing for positions in industry. As normal, I give a seminar talk to the group, remote with PowerPoint, which includes the hiring manager. Audience has all PhDs in similar fields, with the most divergent being an individual with a PhD in engineering. At the end, I ask if anybody has any questions, and I would be more than happy to elaborate. One chimes in and says, "For the purpose of the interview, can you tell me what part of the study you contributed to?" I was confused, and so were others on his team based on their facial expressions, and then it hit me that he was questioning the contribution to my own research. This is highly unusual. By the way, it was 100%. I was responsible for planning, hypothesis, execution, data analysis, everything. If we had collaborators involved, I mentioned them by name and the institution, in the talk as well as in the acknowledgements. Okay, so cue malicious compliance. I asked calmly, giving him the benefit of the doubt. Where do you want me to start? Thinking perhaps he wanted to know for a specific part. He goes, from the beginning. I have 49 slides, so I started from the beginning and discussed what percent of the work I did, which was 100%. I went through every slide as he wanted, and I quickly saw how he regretted asking because it quickly became apparent. I did a lot more work than what I was conveying in my 45-minute seminar talk. This was inevitably a complete waste of time because I already gave the talk. By the end, everyone in his group looked annoyed at him, while I sat there pleasantly because it's not a good look for him and his company that he questioned my own research. Later on, he apologized, but I just... lol, I can't. Edit. For added clarification, the individual asked me to go slide by side. That was not my idea. I had asked where to begin to avoid the possibility, but no, he really wanted me to do that, which is highly unusual. Second edit. Thank you for the reward. Holy crap. Our next post is by Duderama. All your company's support is done by foreigners that can't speak English anyway. This happened between 8 and 11 years ago. A little background. I grew up on the Mexican-US border. Even though I was in Mexico, we got perfect TV reception from American channels. So I became fluent in English by age 8. I lived in Minnesota for the entirety of my adult life, and friends in Texas mock me because I sound Minnesotan. Fast forward to being either late 20s or early 30s, working in a suburb of Minneapolis at an Apple store as a lowly salesperson. The job there is to try and get folks to upgrade, buy a more expensive machine that they came in for, get accessories, and most importantly, buy Apple Care. I did fairly well because I was upfront with my customers about pros and cons rather than just give them the scripted spiel about how magical and life-changing those add-ons were. I had a lot of regulars that would only work with me for this reason, and they always ended up buying more crap in spite of my advice not to. Fast forward to some summer, and this kid from Wisconsin that's about to start college comes up with his middle-aged tubby loudmouth dad, and the concierge directs them to me. Dude is just completely rude, so I went into spiel mode. Screw this guy. I do all the scripted crap. He was having none of it, and I didn't care. I wanted to be done with him. We get to the Apple Care, and the guy says, "Can you guarantee that I won't be talking with some foreigner? You can't even understand them." At this point, my petty little Mexitonian passive-aggressive heart light up with joy at the opportunity. Sir, we at Apple want you to feel happy with the services we offer as much as possible. Unfortunately, I can't guarantee that the tech support people will be American any more than I can guarantee that an American will help you here at the store. I'm actually Mexican, living as a part-time resident in the US. I apologize if you find my accent hard to understand. I will go back and find an American to help you, but there are a lot of foreigners in the store, so it might be a few minutes. The Schadenfreude at seeing this backwoods racist squirm and say, "Well, you know what I mean." "I do, sir. I will get someone else for you." No, you're doing a great job." I proceeded to have my way with his wallet by getting everything and anything that his son may need for college. I even made a couple of jokes to the kid to stay in school because otherwise he'll have to work at a mall and deal with rude people all day. Thank you so much for watching another episode of Stegosaurus Bulletin. You can like the video if you like, and subscribe for more crazy stories.